Hello, my geeslings. This is the introduction for Robinson's podcast, episode 21 or 22. That is as yet undetermined. But it's with my best friend, my lifelong best friend, Winn-Lee. Although this is the third episode we've recorded, it's the first time, or the first one that's actually making it into the Robinson's podcast canon. Because I guess in our first two, that was before I realized I couldn't just say whatever I wanted and expect to at some point in my future be employable. But in this episode, we talked about many things dear to my heart, none of which were particularly deep or philosophical. We mainly talked about our respective post-apocalyptic fantasies. We categorized zombies, talked about dragons and other monsters. And funnily enough, or naturally enough, that's what Graham and I have been talking about for the past 2 decades, I guess. I've known him, I think, since we were, probably around 2 years old, from the park by my house, and we've been going strong ever since. He is the mastermind behind the Robinson's podcast logo. And the last thing I will say is I feel very strange plugging my ice cream eating stream when I'm introducing a podcast episode that involves an academic or a philosopher. It just feels incongruous. But every morning I have been Twitch streaming and YouTube streaming and Instagram streaming my morning pint of ice cream that I have for breakfast. And it's been fun to talk about philosophy or my ice cream or working out or just chatting with whoever's there. So if that at all interests you, I'm not sure why it would, but if it does, I will be there. So you can follow me at Robinson Eats on Twitch or just my Instagram, and we can do that. So without any further ado, a conversation purely about zombies and post-apocalyptic fantasies. Enjoy. We're not live, but you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
All right. I will have already mentioned this in my introduction, but better late than never. My best friend, Winn-Lee, international handsome man of mystery with his girlfriend loudly and inconsiderately baking banana bread in the background.
It is what it is.
It is.
I asked her to do it, and she acquiesced, so...
That's very. I'm happy for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Before this, we brainstormed 10 things to talk about, so that. Oh, you're hitting the pipe already?
Yeah, dude. You know what it is.
What is that? That the DMT?
Just nicotine.
Brainstorm 10 things so that we don't lapse into a sort of stasis of not knowing what we're talking about. First thing, post-apocalyptic fantasies. And the reason that comes to mind is I don't know how much, if at all, we've ever talked about them.
Mm-hmm.
But do you find yourself post-apocalyptic fantasizing often?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's always based around like living in an action movie, basically.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
Are yours typically zombie oriented?
Yeah.
Okay, mine are never.
Oh, really? See, mine frequently are because mine are often like fantasizing about getting to fight and stuff, and I don't want to fight like other people scrounging for like food and stuff. That's not like yeah. But if it's zombies, it's like the zombies are like the ultimate bad guy that you're allowed to fuck up.
Okay. Yeah,
to
that
fight.
is yeah to fight. No, that's not at all my post-apocalyptic fantasy. Mine always start. I don't know. I first had this fantasy when I was in undergrad, and it
Hmm.
was like a very dismal fantasy. It was just like, okay, what happens if I like wake up and everybody's just gone and like I'm just by myself?
Literally everyone.
Yeah, literally everyone's just gone. And the reason it was a dismal fantasy is because I realized, I would just walk outside of my apartment and then realize that all throughout the city of Boston and all throughout the world, there are just pets trapped indoors without like anybody to feed them, and they're
uh,
just like all gonna die. And that was like the fantasy just like stopped there because I was like I was like distraught about like how I could operate in this situation.
I mean, depending on the type of apocalypse, maybe they got some nice owner body meat to subsist on for a while, you know?
No, that's not what happens. Everybody has just vanished.
Okay. And their pets haven't
No,
in your
just
specific
everybody's
fantasy.
vanished.
Okay.
In this specific, I just wake up, everybody's totally vanished.
Well,
But this fantasy came to mature when I was living in Austin, and I think I was thinking about it in Austin so much because of traffic,
hmm.
and I would just like imagine, oh man, how what I would do if I woke up and everybody had just vanished. And I thought about this a lot. The first thing I would do is I would go. Well, there'd probably be like a "what the heck is going on" phase, at least.
No, it's just go straight into like, I'm going to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, no. The first thing is I would go straight to Whole Foods
Hmm.
because, and I think this is important. The Grand Canyon. You mentioned the Grand Canyon. The
The
Grand
Grand
Canyon's
Canyon
going to
will
be
be
there
there.
forever.
Yeah.
But frozen food is like gonna last a few days because I don't know if everybody just vanishes. I have no idea how long power plants last.
Oh,
I
your
don't
power is
if just
probably
like if
going out within the day.
you think,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm going straight there and just opening up the ice cream freezers and maybe bringing like a chair and my computer. And while internet is up, I'm just going ham on like Netflix and ice cream. I'm just like gonna because you also really probably want to fatten up.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though there's going to be packaged food around, this is like another thing I was thinking about. So I lift weights now because I don't know. I guess I want to be strong, but I also want to feel like I look good. But if you're the only person around and there's no medical attention, you like never want to get injured ever.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to risk
Oh, yeah, you don't want to
like
lift heavy
breaking an arm
weights,
or leg because then you're just screwed. So
pulling your knee or something.
yeah.
That'd be
So, but you
awful.
also have to be like really fat in case you get injured somewhere and like maybe you're stranded for like a week because you can't walk on your ankle or something. So it just basically this is a fantasy that gives me license to binge in my fantasy.
Nice. I see.
Yeah.
I see where it's coming
Mm-hmm.
from now.
Mm-hmm. And then so I spent a couple days, maybe a day, depending on how long things last. Well, the freezers might go down, but I probably also want to eat some cake and stuff like that too, because those things are all. I mean, if I'm the only person around, chances are I'm not going to have like delicious ice cream or cake for a long time, unless I move to Alaska and start like harvesting berries and making my own ice cream in the winter.
Or you move to Alaska and it's the winter time, and when the heat goes out, all the frozen foods stay frozen.
Yeah, I guess my fantasy is season agnostic, so perhaps you're right. Perhaps my fantasy starts in like October when it's already cold in Alaska and I can just like go up there
Yeah. And I mean, something
driven
that
by
would
ice cream.
potentially throw a wrench in your plans is, at least in a lot of like zombie apocalypse movies, the highway is not clear of cars.
Well, I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I mean, this is just phase 1. Phase 1 is ice cream,
Hmm.
but I've got all sorts of other phases. So, the next phase I'll just let you guess. What do you think I do after I have the ice cream?
I don't know, fly a plane.
No, no. Next phase is I drive to the nearest city. I use the internet while the internet is up. I find the nearest city that has a zoo with a baby tiger.
And you get a baby
Then
tiger. Okay.
and then I get a baby tiger. Because people aren't going to be like breeding puppies. Like all animals are going to be feral, pretty much immediately. So I want a cool tiger to be with me for the duration of like the next 20 years or something. So I go get a tiger or a lion. I mean, a Siberian tiger would be ideal, but I'm not going to be. I mean, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I mean,
So
you'd have to make sure that that thing is not going to kill you. How can you be sure of that?
right, it really has to be a baby. I wouldn't want to get like a 200-pound toddler, but like a couple week old. But in Texas, there are more tigers in Texas than the rest of the world combined.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Or I think that's the case. Or it's that are wild in the world. It's one of the two of them. But there are tigers all over the place.
Yeah, I watched Tiger King. Kind of know the deal.
I didn't.
It's sad, man.
Should I? Is
You'd
it
hate
like
it. You'd hate it.
I would hate it? It's like
Yeah.
not nice to the animals.
Not at all.
Okay, yeah, I would not. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. No, it's all the main thing is about how bad it is to them. Well, the main thing is how it's just crazy dramatic, and like the guy called the Tiger King is a character, but a big part of it.
I thought it was
just,
all about Joe Exotic.
Yeah, it is. But a big part of it is just like how inhumane these tiger zoos are.
Okay.
Like they'll, not to set you off, but they'll like, people want to take pictures with baby tigers, but they always need to have baby tigers, but they can't support that many adult tigers, so they just kill them after their kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sets me off. That I find very distressing to hear. Man.
Yeah. It's bad.
All right, back to my fantasy. This is too much for me to handle. But we're only talking about my fantasies. I want to hear all about yours too. Anyway, but one of the next so after I have this tiger, I mean then I go to the phase of clearing the roads, like of the cars one by one. Mm-hmm. Until I have my arteries. Then basically I this is all when I'm in Austin, but I guess I could do the same thing in San Francisco. Then I find some like super awesome house. In Austin it would have been in Westlake, but here it would just be, I don't know, somewhere in the hills around San Francisco or Palo Alto or something, where somebody has a house that's like some crazy awesome mansion, but also like fully kitted out with solar panels and generators and all sorts of things. And then I just move right in there. Get settled.
Find yourself a DVD player and some DVDs.
Some DVDs. Exactly. Go to the library, get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Start building I definitely want to get like a little chicken coop and farm going.
Yeah. You'd need that.
But there'd also be so much prepackaged food around that wouldn't be going bad that you'd be pretty safe for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're a post-apocalyptic fantasy. You're not fighting other people for supplies.
No, that would make my post-apocalyptic fantasy a post-apocalyptic dystopian fantasy. And I think at the time that I was having this fantasy, it was like supposed to be a positive thing to be the only person around.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be good with being the only person around. I'd just be like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I hear you. What do you think of when you think about the zombie fantasy?
I mean, it's mostly just I think about how it would be awesome to construct a fully impregnable fortress and just kind of doing that. And then it's not even really about living for a super long time. But after that, it's just about making a dope fortress and then going down in a blaze of glory, killing a bunch of zombies. Maybe starting a fortress, like getting some people in there, starting a little town, and then once the town is...
Are you the king of this town or the mayor?
I'm like the mayor. the hero. I'm the hero of the town. You know what I mean?
Did
There's a
you watch The
statue of me.
Walking? You didn't watch The Walking Dead though, did you?
No, I saw the first few episodes.
Mm.
Seeing other people live out your dreams.
I get it.
No,
Have you
it just
considered
yeah,
in this fantasy what type of zombies they are?
definitely slow. But like
Definitely slow.
definitely slow, not super slow, and maybe like
Like not Shaun of the Dead level slow on the spectrum.
no.
Because those were so slow.
Yeah, I mean those you could just like run through a crowd of zombies and probably be fine.
Yeah.
I'm
If
thinking
they
like
only were killing you when there was a crowd of them and you couldn't get past them physically.
yeah, I'm thinking a little more dangerous than that. Maybe the occasional like dangerous fast zombie. You know what I mean? Like
Okay, so you think there's a blend?
I'm thinking like I'm thinking like almost like Resident Evil style.
Oh, interesting. Where
Not full
there's
like
all sorts of
Resident Evil.
zombies.
Yeah, not like late Resident Evil with all the like ridiculous stuff going on, but like
Like
there's like
monster zombies and hybrids and zombie
yeah.
animals and things.
I definitely zombie animals is something I would not want to come across.
I guess I'm not asking if it's something you want to come across, but like what it is that you're fantasizing about in this fantasy.
It's more just like it's like a war story where I don't feel bad about shooting enemies.
But
basically.
it's there isn't a specific type of zombie in the fantasy.
Not so much. It's more about the survival. And I do think about like where would I go? Like obviously long term, I'm trying to build some sort of fortress. I'm trying to get guns. I'm trying to stockpile ammunition. But in the short term, like where's the closest sports store? Do I grab like hockey pads? Do I grab like football pads and a baseball bat? Who knows?
Are you building this fortress though from the ground up, or are you
No,
occupying somebody else's place, like a fort or something?
Probably occupying and then adding stuff too.
So when I fantasize about things, I like have all the detail. So what I was gonna say is I have all the details planned out, but I don't actually consider why everybody has vanished. That's just the starting point.
Uh-huh.
But I'm guessing you don't think about why the zombies have arisen.
No, and another like thing that is not realistic is the population just dwindles. You know what I mean? It's like I'm in the middle of Chicago. There's not suddenly 3 million zombies around me. It's like it's late. My fantasy always starts like a few months in. There's
Really? Man, I feel like the beginning though is the most thrilling part.
I guess you're right. I'm thinking more about the amount of zombies to deal with is 3 months in, but what I'm dealing with is immediately right here having to figure out where to go. But like if there were a real zombie apocalypse and you're in a metropolitan area, you probably don't want to go anywhere. I don't even know. You probably can't do anything for a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm. This is reminding me of another fantasy I had, dystopian or yeah. So the fantasy that I had was, it is funny when I think about why I have these fantasies because I do that because of therapy, and a lot of my fantasies are because I want to eat more than I can, and if nobody's around, then I feel that I can eat more than I can, and so I had this fantasy was when I was at Columbia, and I was thinking. Sitting in my apartment thinking about it. Like, what would happen if we all got like a news flash? Like, you know how in the movies, like every screen like becomes the president giving an address or something, no matter what you're looking at or when, and it's like a asteroid is coming in like 6 months and it's gonna destroy everything. Like what I would do in that case, and like that's how the fantasy starts, and I just think immediately, well, I go get that chicken parm sandwich that was really good, and then I get like 3 pints of ice cream, and then I just come back here. But as soon as I have that realization, I then realize
No one's
But
making you that chicken parm sandwich.
nobody's making me that chicken parm sandwich. Like, nobody's going to keep working if we have 6 months left.
No.
It's just immediately going to devolve into pandemonium.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I was also like, well, I do have 60 pounds of candy in my apartment right now.
Well,
So I guess I just
that's a
lock the door
positive.
and stay here. Yeah.
Yeah, I do wonder what it would be like. What would society be like? You think there'd be a lot of like would it be like the purge?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what would. But I also don't think they would tell us that. The people at the top would probably just be like, okay, let's just we
keep
all
the
have
secret.
we all have billions of dollars. Let's just enjoy these last 6 months instead of telling everyone and then
That's
like
true.
getting killed immediately.
Money would be worth nothing if there were 6 months left.
Right.
Huh. Plus, no one would they might just invest in space programs and like space colonization programs that they couldn't do if all the
That's
workers
true.
involved knew that they weren't going to get to go.
I wonder if we had 6 months left and they knew the planet was going to end, if they could jerry rig us something on Mars or the moon. Like, obviously, they're not going to get the whole planet there. Right. I just, by us, I mean people. Like, if they could get like 300 people to the moon or 300 people to Mars and start something in 6 months, if they had to,
Probably.
that'd be pretty cool. That's like a good premise for a movie or a TV show or something. I mean, similar things have been done, but like the first half of the season the first season is just they find out they have 6 months, and then like the last episode they're going to the moon or something.
Yeah.
As like the Earth explodes.
You just have to.
But if the
so
Earth
much
exploded, the moon would just be like fucked.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if I mean, but another thing is an asteroid that could end all life on Earth would not necessarily have any effect on the moon, because it could really just hit the Earth so hard that it kicks up dust. It kills a quarter of the population instantly, and then it kills the rest of them over the course of a week or something.
In my mind, though, the Earth explodes or like breaks.
I mean,
then the moon.
Think about the force that it would take to rend the Earth out of its own like gravitational forces, and just like have its pieces fly across the solar system. Yeah, that would definitely destroy the moon.
But that's also, well, it's not necessarily that it would destroy the moon. It's that then the moon wouldn't be bound by the Earth's gravity, and who knows like what would happen to it.
Oh yeah, it could leave the solar system or something.
Yeah, and then you don't have like the somewhat stable environment that I just assume it has.
Yeah. I wonder what a lunar eclipse would be like on the moon.
Well, I don't think that they're... Oh, you mean no, I don't think it would be a lunar eclipse. That would be interesting.
No, the lunar eclipse is the one that's like reddish. The moon looks reddish. But is that just...
Isn't the lunar eclipse the one where the moon goes in front of between us and the sun?
No, that's a solar eclipse.
Oh, you're right. So
like we see a solar eclipse, and the moon is so small.
Reddish.
The moon is so small that we see. You never really fully lose the sun, or maybe you do. No, I don't think you do. But on the moon, the sun would be fully blocked out, and you don't have atmosphere diffusing other light to you. It'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Be very interesting.
All right. Rewind for a minute to zombies.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so we talked about the super slow zombies. Then I'm just wanting to consider variable zombies, like the different types of zombies that could occupy the variable Z in the fantasy. Mm-hmm. So we've got super slow zombies, then we've got like Walking Dead typical like can't run, just regular zombies. Then there are fast zombies, a la Dawn of the Dead.
I'm thinking like fast can climb zombies.
Yeah,
Fast isn't like not
climbing
faster than
changes
a person.
everything.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm almost dude. I'm thinking of it fully in video game format. It's like there's a boss level. It's like, oh, we've been dealing with this huge crowd of zombies. We built these walls. We're doing pretty good. If you gotta make a trip outside, we gotta make sure it's at a certain time of day or whatever. Find out when they're less active. Find the best paths to avoid them. But it's like, oh snap, we got 20 climbing zombies coming. Good thing we recruited these snipers. Good thing my neighbor on the block was an ex-Navy SEAL. And we stockpiled these guns because we gotta have a battle now.
Right. What I'm thinking, though, or what this brings to mind, is that it's strange. I can't really think of many movies that have climbing zombies, even though they exist in video games.
Yeah. I do. Well, I always think of in Dawn of the Dead, there was that one zombie that was like, I think it didn't have any legs and it was climbing on the ceiling pipes, kind of like monkey barring it. Do you remember that?
Because I believe you.
It like falls down. They're in the garage and it just jumps on someone from the ceiling.
I hear you. No, that sounds familiar. That seems like it shouldn't. That zombie shouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Because then other zombies would have done that, but they didn't.
Well, maybe you could argue.
Do you know what it means to like
the bottom half of its weight?
To brachiate, or it's brachiate. It's Latin, I think, but to brachiate is to move with your arms.
Okay.
And gibbons are the most skilled brachiators in the animal kingdom. Or it's probably I don't know, but I like that word a lot, to brachiate or brachiate.
Gibbons
okay, so we've got...
I believe that. I think I watched something recently.
Slow-moving zombies, super slow zombies, fast zombies, climbing zombies. And have you seen... There was like a Day of the Dead that came out when we were in high school. And it got like a 4 stars in the Tribune. So it was a pretty decent movie.
Day of the Dead? Are you thinking of Land
watched
of the
it
Dead?
Together.
Are you thinking of Land of the Dead?
Let me Google it. You might be totally right. Is that the one where they get smarter?
They get smarter. Yeah, they get smarter. Because remember, they're driving around in that truck and they shoot the fireworks up.
Yep, you're totally right. It's Land of the Dead. So there's also... I love that. I've watched it relatively recently. Mm-hmm. Dawn of the Dead, I just absolutely love that movie. But this one was pretty good in the sense, like, the zombies just gradually get smarter. And that's like a spooky zombie to fill the Z variable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, zombies getting guns and stuff is scary.
That's true.
Not to
Do you
mention,
think of that as a smart zombie or a separate type of zombie?
I think of that as a smart zombie.
Okay.
And then, like, the final boss zombie would be, like, the Charles Xavier zombie, who can't control our minds, but control all, like, a army of zombies' minds.
That's like the final boss of the smart zombies?
Yeah. No, that's the final boss of all the zombies. Like, somehow, once you kill him, all the zombies die. I don't know. Then it's over. Then it's like there's no more bosses. Then it's just like exterminate all the zombies, take the world.
Did you see Army of the Dead? I think you did.
Was that the
Zack Snyder recent one in Vegas?
Yeah, where there's like the zombie baby.
Was
I don't think the zombie baby's ever born, but there's like pregnant zombies. There's like the king zombie, and he's got
He's got his wife.
Yeah.
And they kill her while she's pregnant with his zombie baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was... Well, they were smart zombies.
Yeah.
And fast zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they started smart and fast. They definitely started fast.
Well, what it was that one guy could create better... So if you were bit by him, you were like a better zombie. You were smarter and faster and stronger.
One thing that was neat about that movie was it like took place in a zombie multiverse. Did you read about that, or do you remember that? Like there were cyborg zombies. There were like weird things going on with certain zombies.
Yeah, I do remember that because there was one thing that I did notice while watching it that I was like, that zombie.
Like a zombie gets shot and it has like a Terminator eye and like a metallic jaw,
Right.
and it's just like out of nowhere. And then I saw in interviews that it's like hinted at because it's like a zombie multiverse or something. But don't you remember also? So like the premise of the movie is these guys are going into Las Vegas, which is contained, and it's the only place in the world that has zombies.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going because somebody hires them to break into a bank vault.
And
And
is it just
when
money? It's just cash they're getting?
yeah.
Okay.
And when they get to the bank
Oh,
vault,
because they're
though,
going to nuke the city.
yeah,
Right.
when they get to the bank vault, they find like corpses of people that look exactly like them outside of the vault.
I do kind of remember that. I
And it's
definitely
like
didn't.
they've
I definitely
been
didn't
there
really.
before
I didn't really
in
pick
like
up
a
on it.
different multiverse.
I didn't really pick up on it when I watched
Different.
it the first time. I thought that they were kind of like, they're just like us. And I was like, oh, yeah. I guess this isn't the first team they sent in. I didn't really pick up on that.
Exactly.
They're just like us.
Yeah. Then, okay, so those are some zombie varieties. But then you've got, I'm thinking of like, well, Game of Thrones zombies. The zombies in Game of Thrones are super different from others. So they're super fast. But one thing, you watched the last season of Game of Thrones where you see a lot of the zombies, right?
Yeah, I saw the full last season.
One thing that's different about them versus like the Walking Dead zombies is that they don't seem to require musculature or anything to move.
Right.
It's like they can just be a skeleton and they'll like attack you. That's a kind of spooky zombie.
That is a spooky zombie, but they have another thing is they're magical in the same way that like a vampire or a werewolf is magical, where they have a weakness, right? Because like I don't really remember. Did they ever kill a white with a normal sword?
I
They
think
must have.
we
They
only
must
see
have.
2 White Walkers die, right?
I'm not talking about White Walkers. I'm talking about like those
Oh,
zombies.
WY or
WIGHT.
WIGHT.
Yeah.
Yeah. They must.
They must because
But
like
I have
there's a
no
huge.
idea.
But at the same time, I do remember like in their battle at Winterfell, they like cover everyone's swords in some
No,
stuff
I
for
don't
the
think they can
flames
be
or
killed
something.
with swords.
The regular
I
ones?
think they have to be burned.
They have to be burned. Okay, they have to be burned or like killed with dragon glass. I do remember
Yeah.
that they were like making a bunch of dragon glass weapons. And it wasn't
Yeah.
just for killing White Walkers, it was for killing
Right.
all of them. And dragon fire kills them.
Mm-hmm.
Conveniently.
Quite convenient.
Yeah, those are scary. But okay, so the scariest thing about zombies is so much less scary about them, which is if you get bit by a zombie, you're going to turn into a zombie.
You think that's the scariest thing about zombies?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know about scary. I mean, the scariest thing about zombies is that it's dead people coming back to life to try to kill you. But that's like the most. That's like the.
I don't even know if that's the scariest thing.
What do you think is scary? What's the scariest thing then?
I think the scariest thing about zombies is that you like can't kill them typically when they're trying to kill you.
Yeah, but like
That's like the scariest. The scariest thing to me isn't that it's like a corpse coming at you. It's that if the thing is coming at you and you're like shooting it in the chest, it just like continues walking towards you and like you can't stop it.
So I shoot in the head.
Yeah, but sometimes you only have a sword or a pocket knife.
The pocket knife is true. Pocket knife's scary.
Well, so the reason that comes to mind for me right now is I'm watching Westworld, which I know you haven't watched,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in the first season. I don't know what happened so much later. It takes place in this like theme park called Westworld, right? And people pay $40,000 a day to go there, which seems way too cheap given how much tech and like crazy like operations they have to run to manage this place.
Well,
But
that was a 2011. I don't know when Westworld came out, but inflation
yeah,
has
but it
taken
takes
us
place
some
in the
way since
future.
then.
Yeah, sure. Uh, but the guns in Westworld, if you shoot them at another person, they hit you like a BB or something. If you shoot them at a host, the host, it's like a real gun. It like will kill them and blast right through them. Like it doesn't really explain how it works, but maybe like the guns all have two different types of ammunition in them. I'm not quite sure. But some of the hosts get, so the hosts will shoot you too, but it doesn't kill you. It just is like a BB. And some of the hosts get tinkered with so that their shots will kill you, but yours will hit them like, but they won't die when you shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
So because I mean they don't suffer from blood loss the way that we do. So it's like you can just keep shooting at them, but they'll just like keep coming towards you. And
And
I
they'll
was like,
be
damn,
normal
that's
bullets.
yeah. And but that's kind of zombie like in a way, and I realized how horrifying that is.
Yeah. But I feel like if I have like a baseball bat, I just gotta get a baseball bat.
I get it. I mean, okay.
I mean, it's scary. It's very scary. No, but definitely the worst part is like, for me, tussling with a zombie and I have a baseball bat. The scariest part to me is not can I kill this zombie, because I can kill this zombie with a baseball bat. Come on. The scariest thing is if it gets anywhere near me and gets any sort of nick on me, I'm dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear that. That does change things for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so smart zombies, slow zombies, fast zombies, medium zombies, climbing zombies. One other type of zombie that we haven't mentioned so far is just the zombie that is just an undead version of the person. Like you just rise up from the dead and it's
Are you
you and
like slightly
you just
evil, or are
can't
you
be
just
killed.
normal?
Yeah, well, maybe you're slightly evil. I'm thinking of like a Death Knight in
Mm-hmm.
Warcraft. Like Arthas is just undead, but he's still him. He's just the evil version corrupted by the Lich King.
Yeah. Man, imagine if there was a zombie apocalypse and we're like, how did this happen? It's not even full. It's kind of like, it's a huge problem, but it's not like 90% of the world has been turned into zombies. It's like 10%. And we're like, what the hell happened? Like, it's still out of control. We don't know. It's obviously, zombies are crazy and it's super infectious. So like, it looks like it could be 90%, but it's slow moving. And we're just like, where did this originate? And then like a portal opens up somewhere and out steps like a Death Knight and a squadron of like straight up skeletons, not even zombies, just like skeletons. And they're like, these are our people. I don't even know. I don't even know in this scenario, did they start it themselves? Did they just come out of somewhere and be like, we wanted to be in a zombie world? But I would love a crossover between a zombie movie and like a Living Dead movie.
I'm not sure. I mean, when I thought you were going to say a zombie movie, like a contemporary zombie movie, and then like a Warcraft type movie, then I
That's what I
understood. But
mean.
I don't
That's basically what I
understand
mean.
what.
Like an Army of the
Okay.
Dead, an Army of the Dead crossover with zombies, and they're like, I don't even know if they'd be the same thing, because our zombies, if a skeleton wouldn't be reanimated.
Right. Right.
I wonder
It's got
when
to be
that changed.
magical zombies.
I wonder when that
What do you
changed,
mean?
because like you see old movies. I feel like the first zombies in old movies, someone would be in a graveyard and like skeleton hands would shoot up from the
Yeah.
graves.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I also wonder when that changed. Maybe it changed when zombies were not magical and they became like a viral thing. So you had to be sort
Yeah,
of living
I wonder
and
what the first thing to do that was.
yeah. History of zombies would be a cool thing to
History of
study
zombie.
up on.
Yeah, I mean for a day.
Yeah, for a day. What are the alternatives for how zombie apocalypses can start? I mean, the ones that come to mind right off the bat for me are some sort of magical thing, like in Game of Thrones, the
Mm-hmm.
White Walkers just have magic. Then this one, I don't think is the case, but in Dawn of the Dead, there's like a clip where maybe it's the intro, but I don't think so. Somebody's preaching over TV that like we're being punished for our sins and the gates to hell have closed. And I like that
Mm-hmm.
idea that the gates to
Yeah.
hell just close and
So everyone that
everybody,
dies,
yeah.
they're
But then that doesn't
solid.
really explain why if you get bit you become a zombie. And then the third
Yeah.
one is obviously the virus.
Yeah, man. Another scary one was 28 Days Later.
Another scary zombie movie.
Yeah, because they're super fast. They're not zombies.
Right.
They're very fast. And then another, like, even beyond the getting bit, I remember they're like, did you get any of their blood in your eyes or your mouth? And then, because, like, that's what I was saying. When you said pocket knife, just having a pocket knife against those guys, you'd be screwed. There'd be no way that you'd survive.
Right. Can you think of any other ways that zombie apocalypses start other than those three ways?
No, but there's also like, no.
Okay.
Yeah, the virus is definitely the scariest to me. Although the gates to hell being closed, I don't even know what that means. So maybe I could be more scared of that.
Do you think zombies are the best monsters? The reason that I ask this is I was just thinking. So I was listening to a podcast I recorded with Demetrios that's coming out on Thursday, and we were eating ice cream, and I had this Ben and Jerry's oat cherry crumble thing,
Mm-hmm.
oat cherry crumble ice cream, and the oats were mixed with the oats were like ground into the ice cream. It wasn't like an oatmeal cookie sort of thing or a swirl.
Was
And
it good?
I found that really disappointing.
Oh,
It
no.
was pretty. It was okay, but it didn't add like the oats didn't add any texture to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that I wanted like rich veins of oat, like in this ice cream, such rich veins that like I would be if I were a dwarf, I would be mining through them, and I would delve so deep that I might find a Balrog in there. And
Nice.
then I was thinking, man, Balrogs are such great monsters. I haven't. Are they? Have you watched the new Lord of the Rings show?
No, I started the first episode and then fell asleep. It was
That's
very
not a
late.
good sign.
No, it wasn't because it was bad. It was because I was super tired. And I think I watched it, but the first night back from my trip to California, I was just like, it was my first night alone in a while. Tough, man. But no, but I'm just like at home. I was like, what do I do now? I guess I'll fall asleep watching Lord of the Rings. It was have you started watching it at all?
No, I might start once I'm done with this season of House of the Dragon.
Yeah. It feels like it has potential, but I'm not sure. It definitely wasn't immediately. I haven't watched it again since, and that was a week ago, to let you know that it didn't
I'm
have a
pretty
huge
sure
effect on me.
I haven't read. You haven't read the Silmarillion either, have you?
No. I started it as a kid,
Oh,
but
really?
I
Well,
couldn't
for
get
those
into
who
it.
don't know, I think it's almost like a history book or a book of tales that J.K. Tolkien wrote, taking
J.R.R.
place.
Tolkien.
What did I say?
You said J.K.
J.K. Tolkien. J.K. That J.K. Rowling wrote. That Tolkien wrote in the Lord of the Rings universe, and I'm pretty sure that at some point in the past, Balrogs rode. There were like tons of them, and they rode around on worms, so like dragons.
Worms with a Y.
Yeah, and they like fought a war against the elves. And I'm hoping that that happens in this show.
That'd be very cool. I don't think so. I feel like that's
I
Sauron
feel
is a
like this
character in the
show.
show.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Do you see his face?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not very far.
Well, I mean, I wonder if he's only ever depicted wearing that mask, which is badass, of course. But I feel like showing his face would detract from his
Mystique.
presence. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, that reminded me of something that I read just on Twitter. So maybe it was totally made up, but it sounded like the person knew what they were talking about. Apparently, in Lord of the Rings, like the whole duration of the story of Lord of the Rings, Sauron is back. He's like a physical dude, but he's just not at full power, so he just never shows himself the whole time. He was somewhere in Mordor, hanging out, and then
You didn't think that?
I thought that he was just kind of this. I thought the eye was him.
Huh. No, I think I probably thought that as well. I kind of had the sense he was like Voldemort when Voldemort's ethereal.
Yeah, exactly. I thought of him as like this ethereal evil that I basically thought the eye was the culmination of his physical form, but apparently that was not the case. But
How do you
yes,
feel about? Go ahead.
I was going to say, so in Lord of the Rings, basically, it's the elves. Sauron is one of their like big enemies, and they chase him to Middle Earth basically to hunt him down.
Oh, really? In the show?
Yeah.
So the elves have the elves just arrived when the show begins?
They have. Well, it starts before they've arrived.
Oh, really?
And it starts with a
Huh.
little. It's probably only 5-10 minutes before they've arrived, and then it's like a huge time jump.
Oh, okay.
But
Like a huge time jump to the point where they're close to the Lord of the Rings?
no, but I mean, I couldn't tell honestly. So the main character so far is Galadriel, Kate Blanchett's character, and it
Mm-hmm.
starts out with her as a kid who I don't know if she's a 70-year-old kid or whatever. But it starts out with she's a kid, and then it goes to she's I don't know how old she is. She looks young because the elves look young, but she's like a commander or something of a unit of elves. She's a pretty big deal. So I don't know if it was a 100-year time skip, a 40-year time skip, or if we've gone from 1,000 years ago to 300 years ago. It's hard
Got
to
it.
say. Although how long before the Lord of the Rings happened was like the Isildur stuff?
I don't know.
Mm.
How do you feel about dragons?
In general?
Yeah, in general, I feel like they're very overrated.
I kind of like when they're when they're when they're like the most magical of magical creatures and
Okay. There
like intelligent.
Yeah, so there are dragons that I like. Like I like the idea of
Mm-hmm.
Smaug. Like where they're just like these big creatures like that guard treasure and stuff. Or but they're really smart. Or in Warcraft, the huge dragon is named Deathwing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there's that trailer where the cinematic trailer. I've never played the game, but where they have this huge like mine essentially, and there I don't know thousands upon thousands of people working in it, and then you like the camera like zooms down into the mine, at least as I recall it, and you discover that they're actually just like chaining down and like keeping chained down this massive dragon, but
Mm-hmm.
then he breaks free and like leaves in this huge explosion of lava, and he's like, I don't know, as big as like 1,000 elephants, and
Yeah.
he's just like basically changing the wind with how big he is, and he's smart and
And he's
angry,
smart.
so that makes him super cool.
He's just like the great and terrible.
Yeah, the
I
great and yeah.
I like
But
that.
I don't like when dragons are just big fire-breathing lizards. Then they're just uninteresting.
Oh yeah.
Like the Game of Thrones dragons, I don't particularly care for at all.
Yeah,
They work
well,
in that show
they
or in
do
the
because Game of
books,
Thrones has way lower stakes magic. Not lower stakes, but it has like
right?
less powerful magic,
Right.
less straightforward magic for sure.
Hmm. But I like Aragon type dragons where they just like become your best friend and they just
Yeah,
enable you to
I mean,
fly
even
and do
by
really
being
cool
around
things.
them, it just makes you more powerful.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah, yeah, they're like legendary creatures of enchantment, and like,
I
yeah, that's I
I
like when they're
almost
one of those things where it's like, oh, when the last dragon died 100 years ago, that's when magic left our world. Like,
yeah.
I like that type of dragon.
I feel like the lamest creature is a kraken.
The
Just because
lamest.
it's basically just a giant squid. Except in the Wrath of the Titans movie, the Kraken is like this when he release the Kraken.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
never
like
saw
some
that one.
huge, monstrous,
Isn't it
like
kind of
sea
shaped like a
dragon
guy?
creature.
Doesn't it have hands?
It might, but it has like a dragonish head.
Uh, Dude, I watched this. I can't remember what it's called. I watched this movie. It was an animated movie. I probably watched it 2 months ago, and it starts out really awesome, and it's like it's telling this story of like, oh, there was Captain. Can't even remember his name, but there's like this badass captain, and he's on the sea, and the whole purpose of like the sea marauders is they fight sea monsters basically, and he they fight a sea monster in the beginning, and it's really scary looking. It's awesome. It's super badass. He they're fighting it. They're trying to do whatever damage they can to it, and then finally he pulls. He has above his captain's cabin. He has this giant spear mounted, and he just grabs it and eventually just stabs it right in the heart. And it's like this thing is the size of a blue whale, and it's awesome. And then the whole time he's like, "Oh yeah, but I've got to get like the the red horn or something like that." And it's
This
like,
is a movie, and I don't know about it.
yeah, dude, it was actually pretty good.
Hmm.
But he's like, "I got to get the red." It was the red something, the red eel, something like that, that took my eye or whatever, and killed my father, and every generation of my family's been trying to kill it. And you're like, this thing is gonna be super awesome. And then when you finally see it, it's like a little too, because you had already seen one monster that was pretty scary. It's a little too Disney looking, and you're like, what's going on here? And then you very quickly come to realize that it's like the moral of the story is the monsters aren't bad. But it stunk. It stunk
Oh, disappointing.
as soon as I saw it and it like had eyelashes. I was like, wait a second. This story this story isn't going where I want it to go.
If it has eyelashes, it's got to be a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was too cute.
In Malazan, which I've like tried to get you to read, but have never been successful in doing so.
Yeah.
It's for those who haven't heard of it, and most people haven't. I don't think it's basically just the biggest fantasy universe that there is in print, at least. I mean, the word count just totally dwarfs Game of Thrones or even like the Wheel of Time, particularly because there are two authors doing it. So the world itself is also really huge. There are all these different continents and different storylines going on. But there's one place, I believe the continent is called Corelri, but I could be mistaken. And there's this one coast where at all hours of the day, like I think it's just like a pretty maybe like a mile stretch of coast. I don't recall, but it's called like the Storm Wall,
Uh-huh.
and that it's just this like really tall multi-tiered wall, and at all times these like monsters, nobody really knows what they are. They're called like the Storm Riders, but they like are just people that like ride the waves into this wall, and they're sort of made of ice and have weapons of ice, and they're super cold, and just prisoners from everywhere get like sent there to defend the wall, and they have no idea what they're doing. They're just chained there, and they just like have to like for eternity like fight these ice monsters crashing against the wall, which
That
is
sounds
pretty
crazy.
awesome.
Are all the prisoners atop the wall?
Yeah, so if you think of it, it's like steps
Oh,
almost.
okay.
They're all like standing. They're like chained to the steps at various levels,
Nice. Yeah, that
and they're
sounds awesome.
fighting these ice monsters. Yeah.
Dude, your explanations of Malazan to me, they're almost all of them are like too epic. It's like there's no semblance of a story. It's just all these collections of ridiculous legends that they. I'm not gonna lie, it's not that they sound uncool to me, but it does not have very much draw. It's not something where I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? I'm kind of like, okay,
Right.
just getting your little excerpts of. There's a crazy wall that these ice monsters attack, and prisoners have been defending it from time
Yeah,
immemorial.
I hear you. It's very different from Game of Thrones in that with Game of Thrones, you're like, what is going to happen to this character next?
Yeah,
And you're really plot focused. Where when I'm reading Malazan, it's not, there are characters that I care about. You hear me talk about Karsa Orlong
yeah,
a lot, but most of what's cool is just watching the world get built. And
yeah,
because like you get curious about like what like for lack of a better word like what the physics is of their world,
yeah.
like why all this magic is possible, who the gods are, like what's going on in this land, what's that guy's history, because it's all very cool in that sense. But yeah, it's really tough to read. I'm gonna try to have the authors on the podcast at some
Oh,
point.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
If you have the authors on the podcast, I'll read one.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh well, then I'll definitely get them on.
Yeah. Okay. Do it. That is so. How is? Are you familiar with the term power scaling?
I can imagine what it means.
It's
I
basically
here's what I think of it. I think of it in like a video game like StarCraft. You have various units like that are at different levels of strength.
yeah. So the term in the sense that I'm using it is usually like if you have all these. So from what I gather from your explanations of Malazan, a lot of these different characters and places they never really they don't all come to meet each other.
They do.
Oh, they
They
all
do.
do. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess that kind of answers my question then. But my question was going to be basically, are when you have these fantastically strong characters, this guy destroys an army of 10,000 by himself, and when he comes to meet like another
We shed a tear
character,
for that.
yeah, when he comes to meet another character, is it like basically do they screw up like that? This guy should be this powerful, but
No,
he.
it's all like makes it all works out. They do a really good job of that.
Oh, that's cool then.
People are constantly getting stronger, and we basically like one of the subplots, or I don't know if you want to call it a subplot, but people become gods. Like the more valiant the things that they do,
Uh huh.
they like come closer and closer to godhood, which is called becoming an ascendant. So characters like will just get, they'll like start to glow or something, or they'll just like start getting stronger for like no apparent reason.
Could these characters
But
beat Goku?
no way.
What level? What Goku could they beat? Like, could they beat Kid Goku? Could they beat? Could they beat pre Super Saiyan Goku?
I don't know. That's a hard question to ask because I know that Goku fights like wizards at some points, and I don't really know how like Majin Buu is a wizard,
Yeah, he does
and
magical
I can't
things.
really think about how he would fight somebody would like outsmart Goku or something,
Yeah.
or one I don't know. Maybe this is a Deus Ex Machina, but there are these. So not only are there all these continents in Malazan, but there are multiple universes,
Uh-huh.
and they're linked by these houses, and you can like walk into a house and like another door basically will open to another house in a different world,
Mm-hmm.
and the yards of these houses are they like protect the house, and if you step into the yard, it like vines come out and like grab you and pull you deep
Okay.
under the earth, and like anybody can get trapped, and if they get trapped they can like never get out no matter how powerful they are. So if there's a character that's like too powerful, somehow the authors maybe will like find a way to get them into like one of these houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
But one thing that I like about it is like in the real world there is totally a ceiling to how good you can get at like fighting.
Uh-huh.
Like the best UFC fighter in the world might not be able to take out 8 guys if they all swarm him at the same time,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
But in fantasy type things, not Game of Thrones, but like Malazan, if you keep training, or it's like Naruto, if you keep training, you just like keep getting better and better, and there's no
Yeah.
ceiling until the point where like if you've trained this much and you're that skilled, then you can defeat an army of 10,000 people.
That's awesome. I wa- I can't imagine. There's really no situation to me where one person defeating an army of 10,000 people seems that cool. I mean, obviously it's kind of cool, but it's like, is it just
It just has to be really slow, and that's not
he
cool.
just yeah? Is it really slow, or does he do it with the flick of his wrist? You know what I mean?
Right.
And if it's really slow, every single person who's about to fight him is just like, oh man, I know I'm just gonna get killed by this guy. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully, my hopefully 3,000 more of my buddies, and he starts getting tired.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. We have successfully gone through Post-Apocalyptic Fantasies, Zombie and Zombie Movies number 2. I'm going to consider this also best monsters from movies, comics, etc. Somehow we didn't get to men building shit, or crazy animal facts, or Xeno and philosophy of space and time, but that'll just have to
That's a
wait till
shame.
next time. I'm going to call this a success.
Awesome.
So, thanks for joining me on our first publishable episode of Robinson Podcast with Graham Winn-Lee.
Dude, there was something that I brought up before that I do want to talk about real quick. Is the
Okay.
escape velocity thing that I mentioned.
Yeah, sure.
People were talking about, and I was just reading this on Reddit, so I don't know exactly how true it is. But apparently, most of the what we consider to be planets that are conducive to life are like super Earths. In other words, they're much bigger and the gravity is much stronger. And apparently,
Like the
even
planets we've detected that seem to be conducive to
yeah,
life.
yeah, and apparently, we do not have the technology currently to send something into space from those planets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because we don't have a propellant that can move
Yeah.
something heavy fast enough.
Yeah.
That's
Or so, I
interesting.
mean, I honestly don't really. It's like it seems like we should just be able to. Also, people were talking about the people that were saying this were saying it with their chest very, very sure of themselves. But then other people were mentioning like with with stronger gravity, that means denser atmosphere, and denser atmosphere means that you can have more stable um, atmospheric flight, like with planes and wings and propellers. And why wouldn't we just be able to have like Avengers Shield style flying aircraft carrier and launch from there? But I don't know. There was a lot of discussion going on that I didn't get to the end of.
I also feel like the thicker the atmosphere, well, I don't know. I was going to say, and I don't know any physics really, but like when you're in space, if you kick out your legs, you don't move because you have nothing to push off of.
Right.
If you're on Earth and you kick off your legs, you jump because you have something to push off of.
Yeah.
And I would think that the denser the atmosphere, the more you have to sort of push off of, so you get more bang for your buck from your fuel. But
yeah, but you're also
the problem, I guess,
it.
is you're pushing against more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't know what the trade-off is there, physics-wise. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know. Also, but the whole thing with propellant, like rocket fuel, that's why you can fly in space, is because you're not pushing off of anything. What you're pushing off of is your own propellant.
Well, I think that once they're in space, maybe I'm totally wrong here, but I feel like once they're in space, I gotta be wrong here, they turn the engines off. But no, that's gotta be wrong. Because that's gotta be wrong.
You've got to escape like the gravity well or something like that. But yeah, I mean, dude, now that I'm thinking about it, if you can, am I right in thinking that a space shuttle, no, I'm totally wrong thinking that. The space shuttle that was on the back of the plane, they were just moving the space shuttle to where it needed to go. You know that, like, have you ever seen a picture of that? There's a space shuttle strapped to the back of a plane.
Yeah.
Is that just transporting the space shuttle? That's not, the shuttle doesn't then take off.
No, it never takes off from the air.
Okay. We'd have to figure out some way to do that. Because if what people were saying about the denser atmosphere, meaning that it would be actually easier to fly a plane.
Why is this like a concern? Shouldn't it be more of a concern to get there than?
Well, no. Okay, so the lens
problem.
I found it an interesting problem, but the lens that people were looking at it from is this could be why
creatures haven't come.
Why we've never encountered extraterrestrial life is because it's so difficult for someone else to get.
That's just dumb.
Yeah, because
if they have the technology to get here from there, they can get off the planet.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, people were bringing that up in the thread that I was reading. They were like, well, this particular planet that we're having this discussion because of is 6 light years away. And if we're able to get 6 light years in the span of a human life, then you can probably get off this planet too. Which sounds pretty.
Wait, how far did you say it was?
6 light years.
From us?
Yeah.
That's not that far.
I mean, that's far.
I mean, it's very far, but it's like not in the next galaxy far.
Yeah, I guess it's cosmically speaking.
It's a neighbor.
It's a neighbor. It's in the neighborhood.
It's in the neighborhood. All right. Thanks, dog.
All right, man. Have a good one.
I have recorded this about 10 times because I'm just so bad at asking for help. But if you could like, subscribe, comment on whatever medium you're consuming this nascent fledgling podcast on, that would be so helpful, because the best thing for helping me grow this podcast at this point is making it at least appear that I have an audience. So thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting me.